This game is awesome. Oh, oh, bloody hell. Oh, ya bugger. Could have had my eye out with that. So far for me, it has been the start to what I believe is going to be a really amazing adventure. Wow, look at this place. That's really cool. Oh wow, look at that. I like this room. Wonder what I'm meant to do in here. Right, let's have a look. The game has an amazing backstory and a really nice atmosphere. The scenery in this game is really amazing, I find. Even the sky looks pretty. Is that a bloke there? Is that a bloke there? I think it is. A real mysterious ambience, and I cannot wait to get stuck into it. So I'm a person known as a prayer. And with humanity, or what's left of humanity, losing their war against the witches, the Pope of all people have asked us to help fight against the witches and their dark magic. Because lo and behold, we, the prayers, are a kind of demonic cult, and we use the same dark magic that the witches use. So the Pope has literally decided to fight fire with fire. My name is Shadow, a master marksman specialising in the use of high-powered single-shot weaponry. Immediately upon arriving at the Hermitorium, my safe place, my base of operations, I began to prepare for my first expedition. I already had the ley line charts for a place called the Island of the Damned, and here is where I'd go first. This first expedition would be little more than a reconnaissance mission, but I stepped boldly into the portal, ready to fight whatever was on the other side. The island's rugged skyline was broken by a huge tower, labelled on my map as the Wailing Tower. Gaining entry and investigating this tower would be my primary objective on this island. But the island was overrun by the witches' minions, goons and hollow wretches mostly. Like everywhere else in this world of Witchfire, these poor souls were those who had fallen to a witch's curse, infused by Witchfire and forced to do the witch's bidding. I quickly realised on this first expedition that the list of mysteries to explore was as numerous as the number of enemies to kill. Heading to the northern coast of the island, I came across a mysterious obelisk that was being attacked by the goons and hollow wretches and other evil entities. It of course doesn't take a genius to work out that anything being attacked by your enemy is your friend. And so I immediately set to destroying these beings, attacking an apparently inanimate object. But they came in waves, and I was set upon by a group of arquebusiers, former papal sharpshooters, now shooting for the witches of course. Whilst engaging one, something flew past me and started wailing on the obelisk with a sword. And indeed this was a swordsman, effectively a man-at-arms type character fighting for the witches. Not a particularly powerful enemy once you begin to understand them, but to be respected and not underestimated. Finally, I had destroyed the last of the enemies attacking the obelisk, and the latter gave up a large amount of witchfire and healed me as if in thanks. This was the end of my first expedition. As I said at the start, more a reconnaissance than an actual mission, but I had leveled up and improved my skills enough for me to start researching new weapons and spells at the Hermitorium. And at last, on a later expedition, I decided to check out the Wailing Tower. As I approached the tower, I noticed a glowing red gate, flanked by a pair of large statues, but as I approached, an ambush was sprung. Swordsmen. Fighting one or two of these could be difficult enough if you weren't careful. Fighting many more, and backed by arquebusiers, could be a rather desperate fight. And that is what I found myself in on this occasion. I would engage one, and another would attack from the flank. 2 or 3 hits from these guys was enough to kill you. It was obviously paramount that I could not stand still for more than a second. More arquebusiers were starting to arrive, take shots at me. One even got fortunate enough to stab me with his bayonet. He of course paid for his folly. And it was whilst dodging the shot of another arquebusier that I ran into trouble. Very unfortunate timing meant that a swordsman wounded me with his primary attack, and as I tried to gain space to heal, he followed it up with another, very nearly laying me low. It was only through very good fortune that a healing elixir was nearby on the ground, and I was able to recover some of the damage done onto me. But I had effectively won this little battle. The last of the arquebusiers fell. I had done it. It was time to investigate the tower, at last, and finally hear this alleged wailing.
Subscribe to Banker. Subscribe.
One of the statues appeared to be missing something I had to find. And following the path lit up for me on the ground, I was indeed led right to whatever it was, almost tripping over the remains of a monk in the process. I had to fight a quick action against some arquebusiers and goons before I could reach the end of the lit up pathway, but at last I reached some kind of ruin, wherein lay yet the remains of another monk. This one was holding some kind of staff. St. Albert's scepter. This was the missing item from the statue. Putting the scepter back in its rightful place, and using some of my hard-earned Witchfire, gained me access to the interior of the tower. But here, the path in this direction very much ended. I was not yet powerful enough to gain entry into the inner sanctum of this tower. However, it was here, in the hands of yet another deceased monk, that I found a new light spell, Fire Breath. This would come in very handy indeed. And laying beside this was the Leyland charts for the Scarlet Coast, even more useful than the spell. Leaving the Wailing Tower behind me for now, I would have to return here at some point, I decided to head towards the coast. During my battle earlier, I had seen the towering mast of what looked like a ship run aground. And indeed, upon reaching the top of the cliffs that overlooked the southeastern coastline, there lay the ship, an old papal frigate. Her cargo spilled all over the coastline, and hanging from one of the masts by a long rope, a solitary figure. I made my way down the cliff face for a much closer look. I wanted to take a quick look among the cargo too. I also wanted to take a closer look at the hanging figure, and indeed upon inspection I realised this was the captain, and it appears he met a rather unfortunate end. Having seen all I wanted to see for now, I began to make my way towards the nearest portal to extract back to the hermitorium. Whilst making my way along the coast, I caught sight of a rather strange figure. I couldn't make out what he was doing, but it seemed rather odd. I could see the witchfire cascading off this person, whoever they were. The fact that they had survived here on this island told me that they were definitely one of the witch's minions, and so I gained myself a bit of a vantage point, took aim and opened fire. Whoever this was immediately ran out into the open, clearly in something of a rage that I'd shot at them. But I fired again and again and again, causing very little damage to them, until at last I launched a counterattack against me. Fortunately I dodged this attack, but I could tell it would not do well to allow this attack to hit home. The stranger ran off, and with my ammunition running critically low, I decided to head back to the hermitorium. Laying low, this mysterious stranger would have to wait for another day. I'd spent some time making expeditions to the island simply to level myself up and improve my skills, until at last I felt comfortable searching out this mysterious stranger once again. And as I descended down the cliff, I could hear him. It sounded like he was hissing or something. So I had found my quarry. I still didn't know what he was doing. This time I had plenty of ammunition and decided to start off my attack with a touch of flame. It was abundantly clear he did not like this at all. He immediately counterattacked, but it drew him out into the open. However, now his second attack caused shocking damage upon me. Another solid hit like that and I would be finished. And so I endeavoured to keep a crate from the ship between him and myself, taking shots when and where I could, and then taking cover when he countered. My next series of shots sent him running, however, and he disappeared into the mist. Checking the map, I could see he had retreated to the northern parts of the island, taking shelter with a strong band of the witch's minions. Furthermore, I would have to fight my way across the island to reach him once again. This I set to straight away. I didn't know anything about this stranger. I didn't know if he had the ability to regenerate his health, and so hunting after him as quickly as possible, re-engaging in the fight, was the way ahead. At last, I spotted him in the distance. I began taking long-range shots at him, hoping to draw him towards me and away from his allies. The The plan seemed to work. He came barreling towards me, and we traded fire for some time before at last he tried to flee once again. I encouraged his flight with some well-aimed shots, and set off in hot pursuit. I had to be careful though, with no healing elixir available to me, so even a small number of hits from either this chap or his minions could leave me in dire straits. At last, I got right on his heels. He had retreated to the top of the cliff from where I'd first engaged him, and I had to tread carefully. One wrong move and I could come face to face with this guy and get an absolute pasting from him. As I drew up the staircase towards the small ruin where I found St. Albert's scepter, the sounds of hissing and sighing grew louder, and at last I caught sight of him. I quickly gained some elevation with an escape route and opened fire. Five rapid shots and it was all over. He was dead. With his passing he dropped a good deal of witchfire, some gold, and a treasure hunter's prism, a tool that could be used to locate treasure on the map. This could come in very handy later on. Anyway, with this enemy dead, I fought my way to the nearest extraction portal, heading back to the Hermitorium once again. There I treated myself to a new rifle, Hypnosis, a bolt action rifle that delivers a more powerful shot the longer the shooter aims through the sights. And after using some witchfire to level up my skills and traits, I at last made my way to the Scarlet Coast. It was necessary I came here. I couldn't progress on the Island of the Damned without first visiting this place and exploring the site of the last large papal expedition. An expedition that seems to have ended in terrible, abject failure. Judging by the remains and abandoned equipment everywhere on the beach, it seems that the Pope's forces here had been slaughtered. Furthermore, whilst exploring this location, it became quite clear to me that this place would make the Island of the Damned look like little more than a prayer's training ground. The battle would continue, the war would continue. Victory would not come easy. Thank you ever so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this first part of my new adventure in the game Witchfire. Please subscribe to see more and don't forget to hit the notification bell. And please leave a comment telling me what you think of the video, the game, or give me any advice on what I can do better. Thank you ever so much for watching and cheerio.